Hi guys, welcome to another episode of The Successful CEO. Today we've got someone really exciting joining us. Raja, hi.
Hi Zeeshan, how are you?
I am really well, thanks. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule and joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
No, absolutely. So, I know who you are, but everyone watching doesn't. So, who are you? What do you do? And why am I talking to you?
Well, my name is Raja Sharif, as you pointed out. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Farmatrust, which operates in the kind of distributed ledger technology and artificial intelligence area.
Wow, awesome. And whereabouts are you guys based?
Chancery Lane here in London.
You're a central London guy. Very nice, very nice. It's a great city to be in. Loads of opportunity, especially in the blockchain distributed ledger stuff. That industry is constantly booming.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of a great place to be now. A couple of years ago, there was a lot of confusion about what's blockchain, what's Bitcoin, what's cryptocurrency, what's happening with money laundering, and what the differences are. But I think most people have become reasonably well educated in terms of knowing what the difference is between a Bitcoin and a blockchain these days. So it makes our life slightly easier, of course. And I mean, we specialize in the healthcare and pharmaceutical sector as well, which kind of narrows down our focus even further. And the use cases for the kind of technology and services or solutions we provide is really quite unique and cutting edge. And of course, we're quite lucky because we have operational solutions which are already installed in some clients.
Amazing. So what is it exactly that Farmatrust does?
So we have three main verticals. The first and the longest standing vertical is pharmaceutical tracking and data services. So essentially what we do is we track pharmaceutical products from the point of manufacture to the point of consumption.
Right. Okay.
And we also do it for medical devices, actually. And these are regulated under European legislation called the FMD rules. And in America, they're called the DSESA rules.
Right.
And essentially, what it means is manufacturers of pharmaceutical products or medical devices must know where each individual packet is. So what we do is we use blockchain to track it from the point of production to the point of consumption. So you have a full provenance of whatever product you're using or taking.
Right.
And then there's a second vertical, which is kind of like really out there in the cutting edge of not just technology, but the sort of treatments that we're helping manufacture. And that's called cell and gene therapy or personalized medicine. So these are the cartoon treatments you may have seen some documentaries about or heard about recently. They're very low value, a very nascent technology, but essentially what they do is they take a sample of your blood and then train your T cells to actually kill cancer. It's usually for leukemia and blood cancers. And of course, once that treatment is successful, it means you're immunized against that particular cancer. It's really kind of like, it's really new. It's great technology from the sort of services that we provide, which actually help in the manufacturing process and speed it up, because you really have only 20 days to produce these treatments. Otherwise, people actually essentially die. And we're really fortunate to be in that position. And we're one of the we're the unique, only company that kind of provides that service.
You're the only one. Wow. Okay. So that's a great position for you guys to be in.
Well, absolutely. So, it's great to be British and it's great to be unique as well. And the final vertical we deal in is clinical trials. So essentially, you might ask, why do we do these three verticals? Essentially, what it allows us to do is be a full service firm for the pharmaceutical companies. So, when they're going through their drug discovery phase, we can help them with the clinical trials. When the regulator approves these treatments or medical devices, then we will help them track it through the supply chain and helps with their compliance. And in the future, as most of these companies have to move into personalized medicine, or the CGT service that we provide, we're already there. So we're one of the few companies that operate in that. And we're the only company that actually provides all three of these services on blockchain or DLT technology.
Sounds like you guys are the innovators here, definitely.
Yeah, we're quite fortunate in that respect. I mean, a lot of it's been strategy, but it's also been some luck there as well. You know, we were actually commissioned by a company to create the cell and gene therapy service. So it's actually built with having the customer in mind, so we understand, you know, what their needs are and what their requirements are. And actually, the UK is a leader in the cell and gene therapy. I mean, they're kind of like one of the biggest ones with all of Europe combined. But actually, the company that commissioned us to build the solution was actually an American company based out of Jersey. So we are quite international. We're the only blockchain company in the world that's approved under the FMD regulations.
Okay.
And we're the only European company that I'm aware of that is taking part in the US FDA pilots in America for blockchain services for the healthcare sector.
Okay, that sounds amazing. Like all this amazing credibility, and obviously, you know, this is your business you started. You're based here in the UK, in London as well, so that's really exciting. So I suppose my first question to you is, what inspired you to basically become the CEO and to start this business?
Well, the CEO thing, believe it or not, was actually by luck. Although I was the founder of the company, I didn't actually want to be the CEO. I invited an old colleague of mine, who's actually now our deputy chairman, who hired me as a lawyer some 20 years ago in his company, and made me head of legal back in the day. I actually asked him and another colleague if they would like to be the CEO, and I would actually kind of like act as more of a supporting role as COO or even a general counsel. But they said, no, you have to do it and we'll support you. So
you're stuck with it. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. But I had switched actually some 5 years ago into commercial management anyway. So as you know, the skill sets already had most of them from my general counsel days, because I used to sit on boards of companies. So there was a lot of planning, budget skills that you need, risk management skills that you need, and also corporate governance needs. So many of the skills were already there, but it was really kind of like my first major CEO role, although I had done pretty big projects around the world already.
Fair enough. I mean, that's good. I mean, it can't always be 100% structured plan from that perspective. It's all good.
Well, I think you'll find in life, not everything can be planned, as you say, and
exactly.
That happened through good fortune, and a good indicator of where you're going in life.
Sure. So, I mean, where do you get your inspiration from then?
I really like some of the people I've worked with in the past. It's always good to learn skills and habits from CEOs and managers that I've had the fortune to work with. And I've also been quite fortunate in that I've worked in many kind of like multinational or international companies. So reasonably young age, I was working for British Telecom, which exposed me to the larger company mindset, but it also gave it a very international flair. I tend to have to travel a lot throughout my career. And then I did work for Al Jazeera, which is a phenomenal which has something like 120 different nationalities working in it. And, I was quite fortunate to work with them in Doha. And I was also fortunate that they actually placed me in Istanbul to launch a channel there for them for about a year or so. And then they actually sent me to San Francisco to launch a digital channel called AJ Plus, which was also a great experience. And of course, it's one of the most successful digital channels for
Indeed, it is. Yes, amazing. Wow, that's quite a bit of experience there for you. Cool.
Yes, been quite lucky, as I said.
I mean, so, I talk to a couple of CEOs every now and then, and I always ask them, so you've got your inspiration and, you've got this amazing company behind you. Do you have a role model that you look up to, that you aspire to?
I mean, for me, it's a little bit difficult because I tend to look at things and people very holistically.
Okay.
So, let's take Steve Jobs, who I do admire quite a lot
Mm.
because he was really an innovator. He was very focused and he was very determined kind of person. But then if you look at him on the other side of his life, he's not a very pleasant person. Oh, sorry, he wasn't a very pleasant
Yeah.
person. And colleagues found it quite difficult to work with him. But he's a very inspirational person from that perspective. So, one always tends to kind of look at the larger CEOs, the Jeff Bezoses of the world, who are willing to take risks. And I do like to look at Jeff Bezos in terms of some of the things that he believes in, which is,
Mm-hmm.
you should experiment, you should take risk in a measured way. I'm not saying be reckless, but there should always be a search for opportunity. And, one of the sayings I really like about Jeff Bezos is don't ask why, ask why not.
Yeah.
And that actually applies to us quite a lot in the area that we're working in,
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
many of the companies or entities that we have to actually engage with are constantly asking why. And we give them reasons. Our system makes them future-proof, it makes them interoperable,
Mm.
they're really cutting edge of technology. And actually, not only that, and not only does it save them costs, but the services we provide actually impact people's lives.
Right. Absolutely.
We're literally saving lives by using the technology we've got, because it eliminates things like counterfeit drugs,
Mm.
or in the space, it creates treatments very quickly in a condensed time frame, but still give regulatory oversight to ensure those treatments or those products in the pharmaceutical side are safe and protect the consumer. So,
Right.
it's very difficult to get people to change the way of thinking. And, it's not always the here and now you need to think about. It's the next 3 years or the 5
Right.
years.
Right.
You need to kind of amortize your costs or your views.
That's interesting because you've mentioned the future there. So, we're more than halfway through 2019 now. What's your, successful people always say you should have one goal that you're going to achieve. What's that one goal that you're looking to achieve in 2019 for your business?
Well, by way of background, as I said, internationally, we're doing really well. We're working with the FDA. We've got a very strong partner in the USA. We're working with a German company as well in terms of the cell and gene therapy. I think our one goal for 2019, and we've been trying really hard, is to make sure we break into the UK institutions.
Right.
Because to a certain extent, it's a little bit embarrassing that we're doing really well overseas, but we're not so strong with our own NHS here or the MHRA, which is the equivalent of the FDA.
Right.
I have to say the FDA are very forward thinking.
Yeah.
They're really bringing people together and exploring these new technologies, which not only make them more efficient and save them costs, but actually they understand future proofing is something you need to start doing now.
Right.
And
I see.
in the industry we're in, blockchain, you tend to find the Chinese are really leading that whole kind of blockchain. The amount of patents they're really issuing out there. I mean, we've got 2 here as a UK company, but the UK is not really competing well when it comes to blockchain or DLT patents. It tends to China right there at the top, and then second is America, of course.
Right.
So I think, it's not that we want state aid as such, but I think we do want our institutions to become really focused on cutting edge, innovative solutions, because ultimately they'll get left behind. I mean, that's the nature of how quickly this technology is moving.
Right.
And it's not a very costly kind of platform. It's not that they have to change their hardware or even some of their processes. Our technology is more of a software-based service where the only service actually that I'm aware of that works globally. So we have an MOU with the Mongolian government. We're talking to a few African states as well to install our blockchain solution to essentially monitor the pharmaceutical and medical supply chain and have advanced forecasting abilities, which really can save billions for the taxpayer because you you avoid waste, you create efficiencies through automation. We use smart contracts which can do many things, including automated regulatory reporting, for example, automated audits, automated payments. And actually one country is talking to us about automatically collecting taxes. So as the drugs move down, they automatically collect the tax, so you don't have human intervention, as it were, in the tax.
So you're getting into the taxation process as well now. That's cool.
Well, not just the taxation process. I mean, when it comes to pharmaceutical drugs and medical devices, they're essential. You need them on a timely basis.
Absolutely.
So one of the other companies we're talking to, actually, they're not a British company. Again, it's a European company. Is they've got together with their customs authority, and what they would like to do is seal the containers at the manufacturing plant with a sensor, and then they don't have to inspect it as it crosses the border.
Right.
And actually, one of the more interesting, the reason the company wants to do that is because they want tax rebates faster. The customs guys want to do it because they want to reduce the amount of inspections that they need to do and focus on, the more kind of needy cargoes that they should be inspecting, rather than pharmaceutical drugs, which they really need to move quickly because particularly in the Brexit planning stages at the moment, it's quite essential.
The B word.
But bizarrely, this is not for the UK. This is Europe.
But I suppose it's like you said, it's all about efficiencies and making things more efficient and faster and smoother for everyone. So
it is, but it's
make things better.
It is, and as I said, when we look at the public sector, what we're looking for is not for them to waste money, but really be open-minded towards these new technologies that can bring in these efficiencies, as we found in Europe and the US, as I said.
Okay. I mean, with all this stuff happening and, all this stuff going on, I'm wondering what is it that you're most proud of in your company?
Actually, what I always liked in companies, not just this one, but also other companies that work for, is diversity. We're quite lucky that we've actually got quite a diverse workforce. We've got our senior developers is from San Francisco. Our CTO is an American of Bangladeshi origin. Our business development is a British guy, but originally from Ireland. Our CEO is English, very English. Our chairman is Lord Anthony St. John. He's a Tudor.
Okay.
He's quite
amazing.
English as well, but he grew up in South Africa. So we've got we've got quite a diverse workforce. We've got people in India and Ukraine as well that work with us. So and we even have remote workers, like our UX UI person is based in Manchester and comes down to the office every now and then. And that diversity adds richness in terms of not just what we're building here, but views and angles and something that sometimes you don't get if people are very similar. I mean, one of the most interesting pictures I used to put up when I used to work for AJ Plus was Fox News and AJ Plus, and you could see the big difference between the two pictures. I mean,
that was fun.
Similar. The other ones, it was full of we had Mexican or Latinos as they call them back in the US, but we also had Chinese, Koreans, Asians, of course. It was quite an interesting time, and I think that diversity does help. And of course, I think particularly in places like America, you need to reflect the diversity of the population. And here in London, it's a very diverse population.
Yeah, absolutely.
As diverse, I would say, if not more so than some of the states in the US.
So if I go past your office, I'm going to see the United Nations flag hanging outside.
Well, most of them tend to be British, apart from the couple of Americans.
Oh, well, fair enough.
Their backgrounds are.
We'll get there eventually, right?
Yeah.
So tell me one thing. So with that, I mean, yeah, you've got this amazing diversity in the organization. You've got this clear direction that you're going in. To me, like pharmaceutical, medical, those sort of industries, they're quite regimented and controlled. There's lots of legislation in place to control situations. You've then got the blockchain piece on top, which is also very sort of logically structured.
Yeah.
Do you promote or do you like creative thinking in your business?
Absolutely. Well, we wouldn't be here if we didn't think creatively.
Right.
I mean, as I said, we're quite a cutting edge solution, and you know, we've got kind of like three main pillars. Well, one is the core back-end infrastructure,
right,
which is the DLT structure, and we take a blockchain neutral approach. So our clients can choose whether they want to, you know, be on a permissioned or private blockchain, or whether they want to use a public blockchain. We've just entered into a partnership with IBM, and they would like us to use Hyperledger, which, you know, different people have different views about, but it's an option that clients can have. You know, it's not for me to impose options on clients. And then what I'm really kind of passionate about. Oh, sorry, I think the lights.
Oh, you've gone dark. You're back.
What I'm really passionate about is not to look at people about going, oh wow, this, you know, blockchain technology is really complicated and sophisticated. What it's all about is actually making it easier to use. So our UX and UI kind of front end, what we try and do is make it as simple for the clinicians or doctors, surgeons, or logistics companies, operators to use. You know, we have to keep it as simple as possible, make it intuitive, you know, very much into that AI machine learning background as well. So although there's a lot of complexity in the back end, when you use it at the front end, we're very passionate about making it as easy as possible to use and to be as interoperable as possible, so we can have as many partners or companies that can work with us. So, for example, you know, we're sensor neutral, which means, you know, if our clients want particular types of sensors, whether it's tilt control, humidity, and you know, light, we can do that. We're working on a very interesting project where we want to install sensors in the vehicles that are delivering drugs around the country here in
right.
And that's there because they want to monitor their carbon footprint, right? So they can report on their carbon footprint and try and reduce that, because as you become more efficient in your pharmaceutical or medical devices supply chain, you can actually reduce carbon emissions because you've got a more even distribution of your products around the country. Right. Our big thing is to reduce shelf time. So, you know, we want to reduce it from 60 days down to 10 or 15 days. And that helps in a number of ways. One, of course, it helps with the efficiency of the supply chain. But actually, even from a financial perspective, it eases up the cash flow for our clients. So, of course, it's not tied up in product. But more importantly, it means less waste, either through drugs expiring or not being held in proper environmental conditions. So you're saving the taxpayers' money as well.
Brilliant. Why isn't everyone doing this?
Well, as I said, I'm lucky to have a very imaginative and creative team that, you know, look at these things and say, well, hang on, if we can do this, why can't we also do this?
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's not that we're trying to be all things to all men. We only focus on the pharmaceutical and healthcare sector. But there's, you know, many ancillary benefits from the data that we collect that is really quite important for a lot of different institutions. And as you know, carbon emissions are a big thing with the climate change issues coming along, and many companies are now, of course, monitoring that kind of stuff.
Of course.
And data analytics, of course, is a big thing as well for many companies these days.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we've talked a lot about your business. Here's a slightly lighter topic for you. You're a well-dressed man. I can see you've got a nice suit on, good shirt on. Do you wear this?
Sure people agree with that.
Oh, well, it's all subjective. I'm sitting here in an old blue T-shirt.
Yeah.
Successful people, they're always going on about, all your time, effort, energy, your emotional thoughts has to go into your business, your work, and your focus. So they don't want to think about what they're going to eat or what they're going to drink or even what they're going to wear. Do you wear the exact same outfits every single day?
Actually, no, I don't. A, because I think it might smell bad, but B, and then I have colleagues. Look, different people have different styles and dresses. There are these fads which I think are more PR exercises than anything. And they say the human brain has more kind of neurons than there are stars in the universe. So having to decide what color T-shirt to wear in the morning or whether to wear a shirt or not shouldn't be that difficult in terms of exhausting your decision-making power during the day. But everybody's different, right? So, it works for some people, it doesn't work for others. I think ultimately you just need to be comfortable with yourself and what you like. And I've always I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about what I'm going to wear in the mornings. It's there in the wardrobe. I put it on and go to work. But I think where I'd like to use my thought process is mainly on visionary things in terms of what is it we can do that is different and innovative to what's happening at the moment.
Leading that business, absolutely. That's where we need to be now as well.
Leading is one part of it, but I think in roles like this, it's all about how you get your teams to gel together. We set the agenda, we have certain visions, but successful organizations and institutions need somebody who can not only articulate the vision of what their company is trying to do, but inspire those people to come together, what their different skill sets are or personality types are, to fulfill that vision.
Excellent. Very nice. So, final thought. If you walk into a school tomorrow, maybe not tomorrow, Saturday or Monday, and you're giving a speech about your business, and someone turns around and says, Raja, I want to be a CEO. What should I do? And they're 14 years old. What would you say to them?
Start as soon as possible. Have no fear of failure. Have no fear of bankruptcy. Have no fear of making mistakes. I think that it's times have changed. When I was younger, there was always a fear of failure, particularly here in Europe. I think I remember. And I would encourage people to actually go and visit California, particularly Silicon Valley, because I do remember talking to one VC when I was out there, and I said, what is this fail faster, fail frequently kind of mentality you have? And of course, it comes back from their gold rush days and that prospecting kind of mentality that they had. But what was really interesting is, here in England in particular, if you become a bankrupt, frankly, you're wiped out. You can't become an MP, you can become a magistrate. There was all sorts of sanctions put on somebody who'd failed. And in some circumstances, it happens because of circumstances out of your control. Right, so you're not being negligent. You're not overextending yourself. You're not taking unwarranted risks. But circumstances, the economy changes. 2008 happens. The dot-com bust happens. There's many factors outside your control. And it was interesting what this VC said to me. He said, I'm more comfortable hiring a guy who's failed 2 or 3 times rather than somebody fresh off the block. And I said, well, doesn't it show a pattern? Now the guy is either unlucky or he's not going to make it. But what he said to me was, well, look, I think it's more about somebody who's learned their lessons and is unlikely to fail again on my dime, was his exact words. So when it comes to youngsters, I would say a lot of this is experience. If you're determined, if you focus, you'll make it. If you fail a couple of times, it's no big deal. You know, it's something that we really have to get out of our mentality as Europeans of not taking risks and you know, not being able to take measured approaches to looking at how one can take companies into the future. I mean, you know, so, some of the most amazing discoveries have been by people who just would not accept what everybody else said or the criticisms from everybody
Right.
else. And I think if you can get away from that kind of self-doubt, then you're going to do amazing things. And I think that's what youngsters need right now, you know, which is if you want to do it, try it and see what happens.
Have the
But
courage to go out and do it. Yeah, good advice.
by the way, you know, not everybody, myself included, you know, is wants to be a CEO. I always wanted to be a general counsel, right? And I enjoyed doing the management piece, but it wasn't like, right, I've got to be a CEO, I've got to be a CEO, kind of thing. Everyone has their different zones. All I would say is it's always good to go outside your comfort zone.
Good advice. Good advice. Take it on, guys. Listen to what he's saying. I like it. I'm going to do it as well now. Raja, it's been lovely speaking to you. Thank you so much for your time. If people want to get in touch with you, where should they go?
Just contact us through the website or email us. And,
what's your website address for everyone?
www.pharma with an F, Farmatrust.com.
So what it says right behind you, above you.
Yeah.
With the .com at the end. Cool. Over there, guys, in that corner. I will take all your contact details. I'll stick them into the description down below the video. So guys, get in touch with Raja for whatever you need. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully we'll speak again soon.
Thank you so much, Zeeshan. It's been a pleasure being with you as well.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.